Welcome back to another episode of In the Seaweeds. This is a very special one. We're in Las Vegas for the Manifest conference, and I want to welcome a very special guest, Krenar from Tive. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Graham. Really great to be here.
I'm super excited. You know, we have some of the very best supply chain software entrepreneurs on the show, and one of the things we try to do is they've got to be super successful, but they've also got to be super cool humans. And I met you for the first time at a FreightWaves conference. I think it was 2017 or 2018. And talking to you yesterday, you haven't changed. You're still the approachable guy. You've been incredibly successful, but you're also the exact same person. And I love that. A lot of, unfortunately, other people kind of like lose themselves a little bit, but you're exactly the same approachable person, which is amazing with all the success you've had. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, that's a interesting observation, and thank you for that.
So let's take us back to the early days, kind of growing up, kind of the entrepreneurial genes. What was that like?
I would say I grew up in Kosovo, so when I was 17, I came to the United States in high school here. But the entrepreneur bug or the gene has been with me since I was 13, 14 years old. I still remember was trying to like disassemble a car that was like a not a like a toy car and trying to put electric motor so I can make
Wow.
something out of it and turn like a car that wasn't motorized into a motorized car. And I was very young. But engineering and like computer science and coding was very interesting. My dad, he had brought like a 286 or 386 computer back in the day, and then
Wow.
he was teaching me DOS and how to use DOS. So I I'm really thankful to my dad for showing me in the beginning on what was possible when it
Yeah.
came to coding, when it came to using an operating system.
Wow.
But then I just hung out quite a bit with a lot of friends that were older than me. I never, for some reason, hung out with younger folks or uh, friends that were maybe in the same age. I hung out with a lot of folks that were like 2 or 3 years older than me, and they were all these programmers. And we started writing code and building software to solve quadratic equations.
Whoa.
And we were thinking about, maybe we can sell that. This is like a long time ago. And yeah, just always trying to figure out how to make things.
That's so cool. I can kind of see where the Tide device is coming together here between
There we
software
go.
and hardware. So let's fast forward a bit. So it's the summer of 2015. Like where's the idea coming from? Is it been in your head for a while? Where are you at?
So I was working for various startups. I worked for a startup building 2G, 3G, 4G chips, all in a single semiconductor, all in a single die. So it would be a software-defined radio. And that company was called Bitwave Semiconductor. And I learned a lot about radio frequencies and wireless and fell in love. And then I worked for this MIT startup called ETA Devices, and we build the world's most efficient base stations that go on cell towers.
Whoa.
So one thing that those two jobs gave me was a clear insight of where cellular networks were going. And I would say 2014, 2013, I started seeing that we're this thing called an LTE IoT or LTE, not just 4G where we use in our phones, but there's this one called Cat M1, or some other people call it LTE IoT. That was just a thought back in 2013, 2014, and people were, and I wanted to get into that space. It was very interesting, but the way I stumbled into actually building a product and stumbled into using that knowledge into building a product was through quote unquote marriage. My wife's father-in-law had a trucking company, and every time I would go to his house, we're trying to have wine, trying to have dinner. He would get up, call the truck drivers, figure out where they are. Do they need to load? Do they need to unload? I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a GPS tracker and put it in your trucks. And that's where like kind of all these things since I was a kid kind of all
Together.
came together, and wireless and RF, that love for wireless ability to send a signal
Wow.
from anywhere in the country to your phone. Like that was just amazing. Just to when I sent the first text message from this evaluation kit that I bought, and I wrote the code and I sent the first text message from the chip to, like, yes, I was next to it, but it was not connected, and I got a text message through AT&T, right?
Wow.
This thing connected to AT&T, sent it to me, and I just I couldn't stop since that moment,
Wow.
and that was it.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember again when we met back at that Freight Waves event, the first thing that struck me about you was like the energy of like you describing that, like you could see, and you were so early in your journey, and I was like, this is going places because you could see it. You're like, these devices can go on pallets, they can go on trucks, they go in containers, they're going to change things. It was amazing to see. Was it also like when you look back at that period, that kind of like 2015 period? Was it like a kind of, a number of different things was happening in technology, mobiles, cell networks? Did some of that have to come together in that period for Tive to kind of become the device it was and is now?
Yeah, I would say it was a little early, but timing was good. If I always think if I had started the company a year or two earlier, I would probably had a really difficult time because then if you
Yeah.
think of capital
Yeah.
likes to keep growing on perfect timing.
Yeah.
And if I started a year or 2 years later, I think I would have probably missed the boat a little bit. So timing was almost perfect. And yes, there was one thing that was evident was what I mentioned on LTE.
Okay.
So chips became smaller. LTE IoT chip was start to become available, and you could clearly see that the power consumption was going to be very low. So suddenly
Oh,
you could actually build a cellular tracker that lasts a long time. And so we built the first one that lasted a long time, but it was very expensive. And the next one is to see how do we bring the cost down. SIM cards were finally starting to be quite ubiquitous and global, where you could work with a particular vendor that had um, roaming agreements across the world. But it was not that cheap. It was actually quite expensive, and that has gone down quite a bit in cost in 2015. But all these things I had in my head, I'm like, they're all gonna happen.
one.
The sensors, temperature sensor, humidity sensor,
Yeah.
the packaging, accelerometers, all those packages have become smaller. You'll be able to buy them at a pretty decent price these days. And then the goal was how do we make the whole product more cost effective? In the beginning, we were manufacturing in US, and we were also using a radio module that was quite expensive.
Oh, okay.
So then we realized that we need to build something that's more of a single use and 5G ready, or this LTE Cat M1 ready. And because we had this vision, we were the first in the industry to launch the Solo 5G, which was the first single use tracker that was LTE Cat M1 or 5G ready. Competitors took another, I would say, 9 to 12 months, maybe more, to come with I would say, a little bit inferior products already, still, I would say. But
Wow.
that was I just that belief and knowing where the future is going and want to be part of it.
Yeah. And when you think back to kind of the early years of the journey, like it's been almost a decade, like 2015 to 2025, do you see kind of like the industry that you started in, kind of selling to where it is now? Have you seen it? Would you say it's been like a dramatic change or it's been a pretty exponential or a pretty decent change over that
I would
period?
say it has been linear. So maybe just to question, when we say industry, you mean more around are they more familiar with trackers?
Yeah.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. In the beginning, we would cold call, and they would be like, "What are you talking about?" A GPS tracker is like, I'm gonna pay $500. I'm not doing like, no, 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 it's not $500. It's a little cheaper than that. And I would say if the future sometimes is inevitable,
Yes.
but and you try and educate it, but you can't speed it up.
Yeah.
And over time, it has truly changed. Today, I don't think there is much of a question whether it makes sense to put a tracker or not.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
Yeah.
even a question
Especially in the
anymore.
world.
Yeah.
It's
It, it,
given.
you're shipping high value electronics. You're shipping. produce and vegetables, and they're temperature sensitive, and you want to monitor that after the fact, or you want to know in real time what's happening so that nobody's tampering with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's real time. And
Yeah.
we can touch more on this, but with proliferation of AI and all the workflows that being built and like automation of supply chain kind of being not here in our in front of our hands yet, but
Yeah.
being in a distant future, you can see it. I
Yeah.
would say it was more difficult to see it 12 months ago or 24 months ago, but what we're doing with AI, it's almost visible.
Yeah.
You can see that light. Um, there's going to be more need for more real-time data on what's happening in the ground. And
Yeah. Do you think AI has a big role to play? Because you've got like a physical device, you've got your software. In other elements of the industry, AI is going to make a dramatic impact. Do you see kind of AI having a big role to play, say, between now and 2030?
in a- absolutely, like you said, physical. So I'm going to show the tracker here.
Awesome.
So
Beautiful.
this is the Solos Pro, the newest one that we have. It's very cool. It's got like a e-ink paper and
Oh, wow.
e-paper display, largest screen in the market, and you can clearly see what's happening with shipments. This is primarily for the pharma customers. Um,
It looks Apple-esque too.
Apple,
If Apple were going to do a tracker, this is it. It
yeah,
is
I
beautiful in your hand.
sometimes say we're gonna become the Apple and the Amazon of supply chain industry, especially in this field. So
Beautiful.
AI, especially what has happened in the last 2 3 weeks, right? With Claude, I just saw even this morning somebody had built SimCity from scratch with Claude. They built GCC compiler from scratch with Claude.
Wow.
They've built like a mini version of Minecraft just with Claude,
It's
and
crazy.
obviously Super Mario games and all that. They're all done, and the software. It's hard to like it is. There is a commoditization of
Yes,
software.
for sure.
There is you can anybody can build now. Like 3 4 nights ago, I went to Claude and I built. I'm like, here's all the APIs of Tive. Here's developers.tive.com. Go and read it, understand it, and build me a page that shows me the accounts of the 50 trackers that I have in my account. It showed them.
Oh,
I'm like, put a battery percentage, show the battery percentage, give me the last locations, show the last location on the table. I'm like, change the battery colors. Under 50, I want it to be red. Between 50 and 60, I want it orange. 60 to
oh,
90, I want it to be like, yeah, yellow and then green. And it did it. And I'm like,
that's
make a
crazy.
link, created a Slack-like menu so it goes to a map and sees where my shipment is and where the tracker is. It did that. I stopped there because I'm like, I can keep going, but it's unbelievable. And I've pushed the team quite a bit, and the team's doing an amazing job right now. Um,
Awesome.
but I
And
think that the companies that, again, OpenAI, Anthropic, they're gonna do great.
yeah,
But all the rest of us, the companies that are gonna do very well, are gonna have one of these three things you have to have. One, I would say, is you have to have a lot of proprietary data that has been generated by you as a corporation.
yes,
Or if you have all three, it's great. Or you have physical presence in the world,
yeah,
hardware with sensors and deployment, so that there's a moat there and there's something real time capture of that. Think of companies like Samsara and GoMotive, and obviously us a little bit here for sure. And then third is you have to have a clear distribution of channel for and have customers or that, right?
yeah,
So Salesforce is not going to go away tomorrow. They have thousands and thousands of customers. They can turn on customer feedback loops, understand what they want, and turn on agents to build the code.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but they have
That's
that
awesome.
moat. They have the customers, and those are you got to have one of those three. If you don't have any, I think it's going to be very difficult
Yeah,
to thrive in this environment.
yeah. And when you look at
I
it,
don't know. Do you agree or
I
yeah?
totally agree. I totally agree. And where I was going was like, like for me, building software all the time and trying to build like great products has always been very rewarding. and you get it in customers' hands and it makes a difference in what they do. But now when you see it being commoditized, it's really difficult.
I know.
And like I saw the first type device, and to see where it is now is amazing. And when you think about the kind of world where you're building hardware products, you're probably, looking at there's probably a prototype in the lab somewhere of the next version, and you probably have the next two or three versions in your head. Um,
True.
could you talk could you talk a little bit about, like, just because for me it's like I just build software. You've got world-class hardware products, and then you marry it with software. Is that must be quite a difficult process of, like, taking the data that's in the devices and putting them in front of a customer, and, like, using AI to give them analytics and stuff. Is that quite a difficult process to kind of, like, think, oh, we've got to build great hardware, and then we've got to marry it with software?
Yeah. It's it building hardware is hard, right? And um, there's so many lessons that you learn in a decade of building hardware. But this many people think that, okay, if I have a piece of hardware, then it's good enough. I
Yeah.
have my software, it's good enough. I'll just
Yes.
connect the two. But this connection between the hardware and software, which is done through primarily firmware,
Yeah.
which is in the hardware, and the way it communicates, what it communicates, when it communicates, reliability of communication, the quality of data, that all translates to results and outcomes on the software side.
Yeah.
If that if there is no clear understanding, almost to the bit, knowing exactly what is being sent from the tracker to the cloud, and you don't have that knowledge of the actual hardware,
Yeah.
all the sensors, all their specifications, all the firmware that you've written, I think it's very difficult to build great products. I
Yeah.
think you can make an okay product, right?
Yeah.
A GPS tracker that's probably longitude and latitude is one thing,
Yeah.
but there's so much more to it, and
Yeah.
I think that is a power, like a little bit of a superpower, but also advantage that we have as a company,
Yeah.
that we have the entire stack.
Yes.
From obviously we don't build the chips, but
Yeah.
from designing the circuitry to building the firmware, writing the firmware, designing the casing, mechanicals, APIs, software integrations between the pipeline, the data pipeline.
The entire stack.
Everything is written by our engineers.
Wow. That's amazing. Because again, it's like, Apple-esque. Like, the reason the iPhone is so successful is they own the stack. They've
Yes.
got the hardware and they've got the software. And I think that's what's always difficult for a Google or a Samsung. They're running, they don't own the stack. They're taking in Android or whatever the case may be. Um,
But the feed now, so as I mentioned, right, with like Salesforce, that example of customer feedback loops,
yeah,
those feedback loops, they're not just a
yeah,
loop. The loop needs to get closed, and the way you
yes,
close a loop is by building what you were asked to build to help the
yeah,
customer.
yeah,
And when you're building, because you talked about like hardware and software,
yeah,
the feedback loop is quite decent, not super fast, but it's gonna get faster with AI. But it's you can see the loop closing in software. But what about hardware? And the only way you close that loop and you're quick and agile is if you can have the entire stack.
yeah. Amazing. And when you look at, like, the last number of years, like going from 1 million trackers sold to 2 million trackers, like
So 3.5 now
to 3.5 million.
total, yeah.
Like, what is the scaling process like? I mean, how do you do that? In,
Ah.
am I right in saying 13 months to from one to two?
Yeah, I have an amazing team, and yeah, the operate this is not me. This is the operations team and supply chain team that have done an amazing job, and also just the internal, like, digital business team, because many companies forget that part of the business.
Yeah.
Because you can have 50 customers, maybe 100 customers, but 1,250, and adding like one or two customers a day who want trackers anywhere in the world, and
And
we have 9 warehouses, we can support anything out there globally. That is just a difficult thing to build. And what I've realized in the past is the companies that uh, like the two incumbents that are out there is just Carrier and Copeland. They bought these companies in or like mid early 2000s called Sensitech and Locustrax, and they became part of this giant company like Carrier or
Yeah.
Copeland that have offices all over the world, supply chain operations all over the world. So they were able to ride that. But as a startup, as a single entity, as a single corporation, I had to build all that on my own, like on our own, not my own, as
Unbelievable.
a team. And
Wow.
we had to build just everything from order taking to the boxes, the sizes, where the warehouses. We have warehouses in Mexico, in South Africa, in Netherlands, in Kosovo, in Boston, in California, and Hong Kong. Yeah,
It's incredible. Do you ever have moments where you're kind of like, when we talked about meeting in 2017, 2018, and you're here now at 3.5 million? Like, do you ever have those kind of like, whoa, moments that like, does it feel surreal? Is it kind of like, it's probably like, is it at the stage that it's even beyond where I mean, I know you have always dreamed of being number one and you will and you are, but like, is it like, I never thought I was gonna, do you ever have those moments of like pinching yourself?
I do.
Yeah.
I do sometimes. Like, did this really happen? And what's nice is sometimes you like the world that you believe is you want to live in and how you can project that. Sometimes things just happen and
Mhm.
in a way that like with AI in this case and workflows and what's happening with the world, nobody expected that a year ago.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about hardware commoditization, and a year later, now we're talking about software and AI commoditization. Like it's just a flip of a switch that happened in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes I think this is pretty, but there's so much more, Graham.
Yeah.
We're so still, I feel early.
You still
Yeah.
feel early? It's amazing. You've also talked a little bit about network effects to describe the acceleration, in terms of integrations, LSB standardization. Like, is network like, is that a part of, the scaling process? Like, you've grown so fast. Like, I remember when I heard the 1 million, and then a year later it was 2, and now we're like 3.5.
We're almost four now, but
Yeah. It's insane. It's crazy.
yeah.
Like, I know you talked a little bit about it, but like, um, the team, you obviously have an amazing team, to be able to scale like that. But is it, you know, there's do you think there's an element of network effect in there?
There's a little bit. It's not as scaled or as scalable as kind of when you see it on the software side,
Yeah.
but there is a network effect. And think of the way I would best describe it is to move a shipment from A to B, it's not just one human doing that job, and it's multiple stakeholders,
Yeah.
right? You got the shipper, you got the receiver, you got logistics service providers, carriers. And what's nice is in the physical world, having a device is people see that.
Yeah.
So if a logistics service provider is using it,
Yes.
the shipper says, "Oh wow, what's Tive? Let me explore Tive."
Mm.
Shipper uses it, then the other logistics providers see it from the shipper, and then a
Yes.
retail program maybe starts where the retailer says, "Hey, you got to use Tive for all the inbound produce coming in," and all the produce companies learn that, and another retailer starts. So definitely, there's a network effect. It's not as fast as software,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Wow. You talked a little bit about the expansion of mobile networks, and how much of a important factor was 5G, and could you talk a little bit about solo 5G non-lithium?
5G, which I call it the LT IoT or LT Cat M1.
Okay.
They're interchangeable kind of in nomenclature. So that was game changing
Yeah.
because with 2G you're stuck on power consumption and you need a lot of energy
Mm.
to send a little bit of data to this cell tower. Whereas with LTE IoT, they've been able to figure that out where you don't need as much energy and you can transmit as little power as possible, hence be able to save a lot of battery. Now you can build a tracker that lasts for 6 months, like in our case, when it's pinging every 6 hours. Whereas with 2G, you you can do it, but the battery is going to be bigger, all those challenges. So
Wow.
and then one benefit that happened, because you mentioned non-lithium, is lithium batteries are in the same amount of space, volume compared to non-lithium battery. Obviously, lithium is the best in the world. Hence, all the
Yeah.
cars, everything has lithium batteries. But it's every time you ship it, you got to put a dangerous goods label. And we're like, we need to move to non-lithium so that we can make it easier for shippers. And we were the first company in the world to release a Solo 5G non-lithium.
Wow.
And this was with nickel metal hydrate, which is still a battery that we use. It's way safer than lithium. But so it's 30-40% less energy, less power for the same amount of volume. Actually, even bigger volume, but it's like 30-40% less.
It's
And
incredible.
the only way to be able to do that and build that product was because of 5G and because of all the firmware work that he had done to to just work
Wow.
very efficiently and
That's
don't
so
yeah.
interesting. Wow. When I was reading up, Krenar, some of the interesting use cases is, you guys going into, um, I saw a use case with like AstraZeneca and going into the pharma world. Um, would that be kind of like one of your interesting cohorts because it's like highly regulated, high volume cargo? It would make a big difference. Is pharma like a big industry for you, a big kind of area that you see growth in?
Yeah, absolutely. AstraZeneca was a great example of direct to customer, direct
Oh,
to
okay.
like consumer, where we using the Tive tag, we're able to ship uh flu shot, which was the nasal flu shot, right,
Oh, yeah.
directly to your house, and you could use the phone to scan if see if it was okay to take or not okay to take because of the temperature. Um,
Wow.
but it needed to be very cost effective. Hence, the Tive tag was the solution there, which is not real time, but it stores all that data
Yeah.
and it can last for a long time, and customers can use the phone. Pharma is a big vertical for us. That's one of the reasons why I released Solo Pro. And one of the things that pharma customers need, they need to be able to make a decision right away.
Yes.
Is this shipment okay? Like you can see here, okay or not okay?
Temperature.
And do I need to quarantine this or not quarantine it? Can I administer it immediately once it arrives at the hospital or wherever it's going? And this is a product that we've gone in, but there is a lot of this is just the hardware component of it, but there's so much more in order for you to be like I would say a checkbox that pharma companies can say, okay, time is okay.
Yes.
There is this thing called 21 CFR Part 11, which is all the making sure that data is not compromised, all the audit and trail of data is there. Then you have ISO certifications. We have SOC 2 Type 2 on the security side.
Wow.
All the temperature sensors need to be NIST traceable, meaning that you need to guarantee that this, when it says um, 26.7 Celsius, it's within zero point 0.5 or less.
Wow.
Because otherwise you, you have bad data.
Yeah.
And all these sensors need to be temperature calibrated in chambers. And so there's a lot of work
Wow.
to go into this market. And I mean, the last 10 years, we've learned a lot and we've invested a lot.
Awesome. You talked a little bit about flu shots, so it's a good segue into COVID was like such a crazy time, and everyone in the world experienced it, and in supply chain we were in the front line. What was it like from a Thai perspective, the COVID era?
I COVID, we were so small as a team. Like it was 2020, right? March
Yeah.
2020. And we were like 6, 8 people. Um, and we had just launched the Solo 5G in December of 2019. So timing was product market fit was there. We really started to see like
Yeah.
customers being interested. I would say COVID probably opened up everybody's view on what supply chains are, what do they mean,
Yeah.
what does supply chains do. I think that word, the supply chain as a term became popular everywhere, and everybody understood that hey, we need supply chains to live in this world. They
Yeah.
need to work. Um, but did it? We were so small. I really don't think it had any. We just kept going and
Kept going.
working. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Super interesting.
The one theory I have is I think that as a startup, when you're small, every time there's a market or a global event, anything that happens, the speed at which you can move is way faster than any other company.
Yes.
And what's beautiful is that, and sad at the same time, whatever's happening around the world, but that opportunity is if you take one step or two steps, it counts as 10 steps on good times.
Oh yeah.
So
First.
one or two
Yeah.
steps in really hard, difficult times
Yeah.
count as taking 10 steps in good times because he knows that one or two step in a difficult time is being like nobody's taking that step
Yeah.
when it comes to
Yeah.
because they
Makes
have
a huge
other
difference.
problems to solve.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Um, Switching gears a little bit, thinking about, you're the CEO of a rapidly growing company, you've got a lot of teams. What does a day in your life look like?
Um, it depends on the day of the week. I spend I would say a lot of time really working with a team, understanding that we're all aligned and going like achieving our vision that we have as a company.
Yeah.
That everything is going to be tracked one day, and we're going to have a tracker everywhere, and everybody involved moving that shipment is going to be connected through Tive.
Yes.
So I spent quite a bit of time with my team,
Oh,
my leadership team, and then I would say the other part I try to do my best to educate myself quite a bit on where the world is going.
okay.
And that I think has
Interesting.
changed more than it was 24 months ago, 12 months ago. I didn't have to educate myself every day. Now I have to almost educate myself every day, every week on what is the because I like slopes and I'm
Yeah.
trying to predict where I'm going to be, where the company's going to go, and where the puck's going to go. Now every week,
It's like,
you have to readjust the algorithm compared to where it was a year ago or 2 years ago. You would just do it once a year and
yeah.
kind of had an idea on where the
So
world's
fluid.
going. It's very fluid right
Yeah.
now. So I spend a lot of my time on that.
Yeah.
There's been like brain power, I would say.
Awesome. And when you look ahead, I mean, things are moving so fast. Like we talked about Claude and, some of the stuff that you did. And um, yesterday at Manifest in my panel, I talked about Claude Cowork doing 4 months worth of marketing work for us in 4 hours last week. It's insane, and things are moving so fast. And to your point, you have to constantly recalibrate. But at a high level, like, we're a few years, 3 or 4 years away from the end of the decade. Like, you know, w- is there, when you think of high level vision, um, and two parts to that, like you think about expansion, you've had insane growth, but it's a giant market. Like, where do you see opportunities in the years ahead? Like a lot of our listeners are in international supply chain, so
Mm.
air, ocean, um, the world's a big place. Where do you, when you zoom out like at 25,000 feet, um, where do you see Tive in 2030?
Oh, in 2030,
You've rung the bell?
uh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But 2030, I would love Tive to be almost that engine that everybody relies on in supply chain and logistics.
Yeah,
And we're not moving the goods. We're not a logistics service provider. We're not the shipper. We're not, but we're the helper.
yeah,
There all the time, uh, telling you what is happening and integrating into your workflows, integrating to your smart agents, and communicating with the smart agents so that we can handle exceptions. And we're that engine that is the trustworthy, loved company that everybody uses to make sure that supply chains are running smoothly.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I would love
Def
to be in 2030. Maybe we get there. Yeah. I think we can
Totally.
get there.
Do you think like, the ocean freight side is, pretty big too? There's, 1 million ocean bookings a day with containers, and um, it's quite fragmented. A lot of the big ocean carriers have got different products. Do you see a lot of opportunity kind of for expansion across modes as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're mode agnostic,
Yeah,
because we're going on the actual goods.
yeah,
So on top of a pallet inside a box inside of a shipper. So yeah, as Tive, I would say that
yeah,
that's fine. It works across all modes.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Awesome. And um, you know, the journey, I think to some people that we're on, they might look at you and think that it's always easy. It's not always easy, is it? Is it my final question when I always wrap up is like if one of your kids came to you and said, "Hey, I wanna start a company," would you be like, "Don't do it," or would you be like, "You should definitely do it"?
I would definitely encourage them to start a company. However, one big thing that I would really dig in is why are they doing what they're doing?
Yes.
And if they don't have a really big why and that drive, because there's gonna be so many times for us
Yeah.
that we think like company is gonna be dead, and you gotta keep going.
Yeah.
But that belief is so strong that I didn't want to quit. And
Yeah.
if I can see that in my kids, when they say something like that to me one day, then I'll definitely say yes. But if they
Do
haven't
it.
figured out the why,
Yeah.
it's tough because usually you give up after that.
Yeah. It's all about the why, right? It's because, entrepreneurship can be celebrated and, we had a guest recently and someone said that, I presume as CEO, you just kind of sit in an office with a cigar all day and it's nice and easy. But that's why I asked about your day in your life. I can't see you sitting back so
No
having a
way.
cigar all day. So thank you so much for joining us, Krenar. I really, really enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate you spending time, and we're going to get you back either at 10 million devices or when you ring the bell, but sometime soon. So thank
Let's
you so
try.
much.
Thank you, Graham. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.